everybody, it's Thursday.
And welcome to this week's edition of The Night Bite.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Emily. It's been a great week, so thanks for being here with us.
Yeah, we, we're just trying to wait out the week so we can get back on the ice, right?
Well, and with that, there is some pretty great ice conditions all around. It's
up,
at
Ray?
that point in the winter where that's really the case. So, this past weekend, I always like to start with an ice report for our local area, but we were actually up north again with the Junkies Outdoors Panfish tournament, and that really was a great time. And the ice conditions there were great as well.
Ice conditions were good. Fishing was so depending on who you ask, but a bunch of fish were registered and a bunch of fish weren't registered. But our buddies Jim Zaha and Chris, they brought home the championship with 6 pounds, so that was great.
And it was really a very interesting day and going into the tournament because we saw a lot of the people that were out there doing some pre-fishing. And there was some really huge bags of fish coming in, a ton of crappies and, again, some really great fish. The day of the tournament, whatever happens, there were teams that went out there and could not find a single fish. And you really got to feel for them because in a tournament, that's something that you kind of have to admit up. On the days when I go out and I don't catch very much, at least I don't have to really tell the world, I guess. But we have all been in that position of having some tough fishing. And so for those people to come in and see others that did get some pretty great bags, I mean, that was such an interesting learning moment for everybody. The nice thing about it is such a friendly tournament. And so despite the fact that there is so much competition, people really were excited to come back and kind of cheer each other on and see what each other had caught for the day.
Yeah, and few people went home with some prizes beyond just the champions, and then there was a little bit. I know Frank Wilkins donated some Icewell live wells to go towards the previous week's meet and greet and stuff, and so there was few other prizes handed out that day too, and everybody was just in good spirits.
Well, and as for those that did catch the fish, what were the trends that led to that? We were lucky enough to get to interview everyone as they were coming in and all of that. So, I think, a lot of times the key is move around. And although there might have been some teams that found success doing that, honestly, it was a case where fish just happened to be in a particular spot and moving through, and you just kind of had to land on them. The days that we had this past weekend were cold enough that even people in the tournament were setting up shacks. So I know a lot of times you think a tournament and you think of a lot more mobile situation. But in this case, a lot of these teams weren't even going by that typical method. So that was really kind of unique, I think.
Yeah.
The other thing that was really a trend from all those anglers is a lot of those different teams were downsizing. So, when we were talking about ice fishing, and a lot of times you think your tiny tungstens, and that is what they were using with spikes and waxies. So, again, earlier in that week, there were fish biting on other plastics and whatnot. But, when it came to that day, that tournament and that tougher bite, that is what they wanted. So to be prepared kind of all around those covering your bases, that's what it took.
Yeah. So, before we get over to Mike, he just wanted us to kind of throw this out there that we'll be doing some giveaways throughout the show. So we're going to do that on a comment basis. So make sure you get your comment in the comment area there, and make sure you ask us some questions, because I think we have 4 little giveaways this evening. So that should be a fun change up for tonight's show. And let us know how your fishing's going, because we always love talking about that. We're in north central Wisconsin, and we like hearing what's going on all over the country, which is why we're going to be talking to Mike. So
and Ron is saying that he can't downsize. So I'm assuming that you must be using something really small already. Let us know what it is that you're using, because we are interested in that. So let's bring in our guest and talk some more fishing.
All right, let's bring in Mike. Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Oh, we still have you muted. So sorry.
There we go.
We're starting out good. How's everyone tonight?
Wonderful. How are you?
Not too bad.
Good.
And thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for asking me. I feel honored, actually. I'm a little nervous, but I'll get over it.
Yeah. So we have quite a few people in the comments who seem to know you already, and that is always excellent.
Yeah, I expected that. Especially, I'm going to start right out. I have my own hecklers. I have two of my own hecklers. That would be Scott Fine and Brian Schroll. So there's your shout out, guys. They like to comment on all my posts that I put on social media. They know zero about fishing. It's obvious in their comments, but they do make it kind of comical and add a little, fun to the whole thing. So there's your shout out, guys.
That's awesome.
So to the people who do know you, we love to hear those different stories and comments and questions along the way. Mm-hmm. But if there's anybody joining us that does not know you yet, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So yeah, I pretty much talk about fishing all the time. So anybody that knows me does know that. I grew up on the St. Lawrence River in Clayton, New York, on the Canadian border. And then, so I've been fishing my whole life since I was about 8 years old. I moved to Connecticut in the late 20s to kind of be down closer to some family and stuff like that. And that's still where I reside at this point. I'm married. I have two children, 21 and 19. They both enjoy the outdoors and fishing, of course. They didn't have much of a choice. I got into crappie fishing when I was up in New York a little bit, not a whole lot, but that's where I started to kind of get into it. And there's a big place up there called French Creek Marina. And in the springtime, it's absolutely loaded. And that's where I really got into it and, started to get the passion for it. When I got to Connecticut, I met some people. Jeff Rose, I'll throw that shout out there. Jeff, you're up next in a couple of weeks, pal. But anyways, I spent some time with Jeff and he showed me some stuff and then I just built on that and my passion just grew and that's pretty much what I fish for is crappies, panfish in general. I still like to bass fish and stuff like that. Hi, Amber. And, but panfish is really my true passion. I enjoy tournament fishing immensely. Up here, we don't have as many tournaments like you guys have. You guys are very fortunate, out in the West. We have a tournament series up here put on by James Vladka and his wife, Melissa, and of course their dog Storm. It's called the Champlain Valley Hardwater Tournament Series. And it was an amazing series. COVID kind of slowed it down a little bit, but we're getting back into it. And we had a tournament a couple of weeks ago. My partner and I ended up getting second place by 0.18 ounces out of first. Very upsetting. But it was a great tournament. Dave Gens' daughter, Kathy, were there. They came up. Scott Brower from Makey Plastics and his wife Pam were there. A couple other people, Don Cox and some other guys from Clam were there. It was just a really great event. There's a lot of people, a lot of good fish caught. And I also like to do a lot of the online tournaments via Fish Donkey, which obviously makes it, very easy because you can fish whenever you want, wherever you want. And it's just a lot of fun.
That is a whole lot of fun. So you're talking about fish and Fish Donkey tournaments, or others. And Ray is actually asking, when you are crappie fishing, are you using live bait or plastics?
I generally use plastics. For the most part, I use plastics. A lot of time, like recently the other day, we got on a blitz crappie bite. And I just grabbed the closest rod I had, and I had a clam blade spoon on there. And I grabbed a dead minnow, and I ripped the head off, and I threw it on there. And it was just nonstop for like 30 minutes. And we were actually doing a class. I'm sorry, I'm going to totally go off on all sorts of tangents. I'm pretty sure I warned you about that. And anybody that knows me knows me. That's what I'm going to do. But I'm an instructor for a program here in Connecticut called CARE. It's Connecticut Aquatic Resources Education. And we teach families and kids how to fish. Not just ice fishing, but also open water fishing. But of course, I'm more into the ice fishing part of it. And my job specifically is to get on the ice early and find the fish. So when the class comes out, we're all set up, and hopefully they can have a good good couple hours out there. And that's exactly what happened the other day. We got lucky. It was literally a lake I've never fished. Well, I have fished it, but not in that area. And it was just literally a fluke. We just landed on a tree out in the middle of nowhere, and it was loaded. Oh. So it was we had 50 plus people there in the class, and it was nonstop crappie blitz for like 30 minutes. Oh, the perch were biting the entire time. It was just a spectacular day. So they got to see how the electronics, how the Vexilar works, what it looks like, for your jig to, going down the screen and a fish coming up to meet it, and the bite and the whole 9 yards. It was just really awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, that's cool.
That is really cool, because so often you go out with people and you're explaining the process or how things work, and the bite isn't always in your favor. So for people to really kind of be able to hear about that and then see it and experience and kind of put it all together, that really is great.
Yeah, we really got lucky. Unfortunately, we have a big storm coming in this weekend, predicted to come in this weekend. And so the Saturday class we had to cancel. But next weekend, we have a winter festival that gets put on every year by the state of Connecticut. And we've had upwards of 1,000 to 1,200 people show up to that event when the conditions are right. And ice fishing is only one part of it. So that's going to be a fun event. That's next Saturday. So I'm hoping the weather is good and there's not, 3 feet of snow on the ice, that type thing.
Yeah. So we have quite a few different questions here, and kind of a mix between ice and open water. So hang with us here.
That's fine.
For open water, do you troll for crappies, and then are you using lead core, or otherwise are you mainly jigging?
I do not troll for crappies. No, sorry. I have thought about it. More of a drift, though. More of like a controlled drift as opposed to under power. I am an open water plastics guy, period. That's what I use. I started my own bait company about 1.5 years ago. So when I'm open water fishing, I pretty much use exclusively the baits I make. There are a few factory baits that I use when I'm in a pinch. But for the most part, my stuff works pretty good. So that's what I use. And I'm fishing open water, a lot of deep brush, 27-foot type stuff, 15 to 30 feet, sometimes down to 50 feet. So it's a precision type tactic, like a countdown type tactic. So I did, however, just pick up live scope this year, which is actually what my laptop is sitting on. And so that'll be interesting to have out on the boat this year. Should change things just a little bit, hopefully, for the better. But yeah, I usually run my Garmin on the front of my boat all year long. And I fish brush piles in 50 feet of water, vertical jigging.
That's really cool. And that's one thing that I really do like about crappie fishing, because, we actually troll a lot for crappies. We don't use lead core. Because most of the time, the crappies are feeding in the upper half of the water anyway, so you don't really have to be down very deep. You just change up your jig size once in a while, for trolling in that more than 15 feet, 15 to 20, we'll put eighths on. If you're going from 15 to 5, we'll put 16ths or 30 seconds on, depending on how aggressive they are. And twister tails. You can't go wrong with a white twister tail and like a pink or a chartreuse head, and you just pull it around at like 0.8 to a 1 mile an hour, and you'll catch as many crappies as you want.
Yeah, I use a lot of twister type baits. I've got
look at that tray.
What's that?
I just said, look at that tray.
Oh yeah, no, that's one of many. So I did actually design a bait of my own. It's a 2.5-inch swim bait type minnow. And through extensive research and obviously out on the water testing and this and that, I ended up sending it out to a guy and had an aluminum mold made for it. So now I can reproduce them. And it turned out to be a really awesome bait.
That's very cool.
Pretty excited about that.
Well,
that's probably going to be one of the giveaways, by the way.
What's that?
That'll be one of the giveaways, by the way.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, that's probably going to be. I don't know if you guys can see.
Yeah.
These I don't know which way to go.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, let me just give you.
Oh, very cool.
So yeah, it's a basic 2.5-inch swim bait. It started out as popsicle sticks being glued together, and I carved it out the way I wanted to, and got the action right and stuff like that, and it works really good.
Wow,
that's very cool. All right, so more questions. Let's scroll up.
There was a question on your ice. Like, what are your conditions? You mentioned that you have a big storm coming in. So what is your ice like, and how is that going to affect it?
So this year, Connecticut is tough, man. It's tough for ice. It really is. It can vary literally from down by the shore an hour away, absolutely no ice whatsoever, to where I live in the northwest corner. It's like another world. I might as well be in Minnesota, because they just turn around and there's just a ton of ice a lot of times, and there's guys are out in their boats down south. But this year, thank the Lord, we have a bunch of good ice. We do have this storm coming in that's supposed to drop anywhere from nothing to 3 feet. So obviously, if it dumps 2 or 3 feet, that's going to make traveling on the ice very tough. And if it doesn't, then I'm going to be on my happy way for a little while longer. In the past, I've had to travel a lot up to Vermont, New Hampshire. It's like a 2-hour drive for me, which is no big deal. I don't care about that. But I always buy a Vermont license, a New Hampshire license, a Connecticut license just to start.
Yeah.
This year I'll probably add a Mass license and probably a New York license.
That's crazy. So we're here talking about crappies, and there's actually quite a few people asking the same question of what is your best crappie?
So it's just over 3 pounds. 3.07, I want to say 3.14-ish, thereabouts, a little over 17 inches. One I got with my son, specifically fishing for both I got specifically fishing for crappies, but one was on a Northland Firefly jig, right? The little hair jig with a minnow below a bobber, and tossed it out next to a perfect looking stump. And of course, the the classic nice little slow bobber goodbye. And when I set the hook, the rod just loaded up, and all I saw was the side of this big giant fish. And I told my son to get the net, and his reply was, "It's only a crappie." I almost killed him at that point, yeah, because it was over a 3-pound crappie. The other one, I was fishing with my friend Jeff Rose. And he's got this nice little honey hole marina that he works at. He does landscaping. He owns his own business and stuff like that. And we were fishing there one night, and the bait I had on, the tail got ripped off, and I looked down. We were just talking, and I saw 2 crappies come out from underneath the dock, and I said, I just dropped it down for the hell of it, and all of a sudden they took off. And this big one came out and just slammed the bait, and it was over 3 pounds.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that was kind of lucky. I mean, I guess we were fishing for crappies, but.
That's awesome.
It is always amazing to me. One of the things that's happening this time of the winter, at least in my world, is, the Minnesota Women Anglers of Minnesota puts on a fish donkey tournament, the Ice Queen tournament. And gosh, I do really love to participate in this. I mean, the fish donkey, like you're talking about, that's a whole lot of fun.
It turns out some friends of mine actually do very well in that.
Well, that's what
yeah, we know.
I'm almost at the point where I am like giving up on ever winning that, because there are some people on that East Coast. Like we always think, oh, Minnesota must have really big fish.
And Tina.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't even have to mention last names.
Nope.
Yep. Yeah, they do very well. It turns out they're my competition as well in the certain tournaments. Yeah.
I just need to move.
No, we have a lot of really good crappies. We're blessed to have some really big crappies in the Northeast, not just Connecticut, but the, Champlain Valley. They have a lot of big whites. We don't have whites in Connecticut. We're all blacks, but like I said, we've got fish over 3 pounds. Our state record is 4 pounds even. And there's guys that bass fish in the spring that I guarantee break that record multiple times over. And all they say is it's a stupid crappie and they throw it away. They're fishing 5-inch jerk baits looking for bass and they're catching 4-pound crappies,
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm going out trying to catch a state record and I can't do it. So
that's so
better
funny.
Start using 5-inch jerk baits.
Well, I guess so.
Yeah.
I do see some. I did open up the comments. Steve, I'll say hello to you. Hello to you, Ron, Corey, Theo, guy I used to work with. See a lot of people. Thank you for joining in with us. This is awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome.
Question here is asking if you have a favorite place to fish. And gosh, I guess I want to know too, but don't feel like you have to share all your details if you don't want.
In the water, is that acceptable?
Yeah.
No, it honestly depends. It literally honestly depends what I'm doing. If I am working on one of my tournaments, then I have specific bodies of water that I'm going to go to because I feel that I may not catch as many fish, but I think that I have a chance at a big fish. And I did that last weekend. Clam Outdoors had a big fish donkey tournament. There was hundreds and hundreds of people in it. And I went to a spot that I figured I had some decent perch. We've caught them up to 14 inches. And we've got crappies up to 16 inches. So I figured that was probably a pretty good spot. Well, we had a cold front move in and it was shut down. And if you guys fished last weekend, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And yes, Jimmy, I see you, buddy. And it was that way across the whole ice belt. Like I was in second place with an 11-inch perch for a long time. Yeah. I was like, there's no way this is going to happen. But yeah, and then they had the America's ice fishing tournament, that big giant tournament.
Yep.
Actually, that was the one I was in second place with the 11-inch perch. That was when it was tough fishing. The clam one, all the buddies that I was fishing with, they all caught the fish I needed.
Oh my.
Right in front of me. So I was like, really? If I had those fish, I could have did very well. Yeah. But I couldn't put it together. So it is what it is, right? It's fishing.
Yeah.
Well, and how did that America's tournament kind of turn out? Because that was a one-day thing, right?
It was a one-day thing, and it was timed. It was like 8 to 3, whatever time zone you were in. I got there late. I slept in. I didn't want to go. I'm like, there's no way. And finally, I just ended up going. I was by myself. I had nobody to fish with. I'm like, screw it. I'm just going to go by myself. And I actually did okay. I think I got 31st, and I got a $75 Shields gift certificate, which I was actually very psyched about.
Yeah.
Because we don't have Shields around here.
Oh.
And Shields has a lot of really cool, specific to Shields only colors of certain baits. Mm-hmm. So that's where my $75 is going.
Nice.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So
well, and for the people at home who don't know, I think one of the things about the tournament is there was like a random place in the middle or something where they won a truck. Like it wasn't.
It was spot. Yeah, it was spot number 210.
Oh.
Yeah. So the way they worked it was they tried to keep it fair for everybody. And so in other words, somebody catching a nice crappie could actually beat somebody catching a pike or a walleye. So I don't know how it worked, but they had this point system to where it sort of evened everything out and made it fair for people. Because I'm not fishing for pike, so why would I enter the tournament, right? If I know the big fish is going to win. But I know I can probably catch a big crappie or a big perch. And if I know that that has just as much of a chance of winning that truck than that pike does, then of course I'm going to enter. So that's what I did. It was a gamble, and I took it, and you know what? I made out a little bit. So,
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So as far as fishing, Corey is asking if you have a confidence color.
I just saw that. I just saw it turn blue. Not really. I mean, I'm a basic color guy. I fish a lot of chartreuses, a lot of pinks. I like a lot of natural colors, like minnow type colors. One of the advantages of making my own baits is I can add different color flakes and, like color shift pigments. And you guys will see all that because you guys are starting to get into making your own baits. I think that's awesome. And it's just such an amazing, thing to do. I bought all this just as an excuse. Hopefully my wife's not watching because I spent a lot of friggin' money, and it's literally an excuse so that I can make my own baits. I sell a couple, just to make it look good for the tax purposes. But I did it to make my own stuff. But yeah, no, I've got some minnow colors that I like. And no, Corey, I'm not going to tell you, but I'll send you some.
So, that is really kind of funny and interesting to me. I think that there's a lot of people that identify with you, though. A lot of people maybe don't know how to put all that together. But for somebody who is looking into getting into like making tackle at their house, how would you recommend they start doing that?
Run away.
Yeah.
Run away. Yeah, no, run away. I am a little obsessive, as you can probably figure out from the background. So I'm not a real good example of this. But you know what? Just start out small. If you like to fish, grub style baits, then look for a mold, for a grub style bait. I work a lot with a company called Epic Bait Molds. They're pretty new on the scene. They've only been around for, I think, about 2 years. They make amazing products, and probably at least 75% of my molds are from Epic. They're just super, super good people. Jason and Amanda, they're just really into it. They're fun people. They want to come up and see me next summer and stuff. But they have a lot of really cool baits, and they're very unique that a lot of companies don't have. I buy molds from all sorts of other people. All my lead molds for like the jig heads and stuff like that, I get from Do It. And because then there's other companies that have started getting into the lead mold thing, but Do It's been into the lead mold thing forever, right? And they've got a couple of cool ice fishing baits that they came out with this year that I bought. Fat Guys Fishing, that's another mold company. They have some really good crappie style baits, a lot of good ice fishing style baits. There's a bunch of companies out there. And just start small. It's going to go big. You guys will see it. But yeah, if you like fishing 2-inch grubs, go buy a 2-inch grub mold and buy yourself an inexpensive injector, buy yourself a gallon of plastic, buy yourself a couple of bottles of color, some glitter. And you need a microwave, and that's about it, and watch YouTube videos. That's how I got into it. I watched Chris Jones. He's got a big YouTube video, channel, World's Worst Fishing. He's got a lot of great stuff on there. I watched Nate Marling, Marling Baits. He's responsible for me spending a lot of money as well.
Yeah.
However, we might as well give him a shout out too while we're at it. But he made me this really, really cool crappie bait. I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah, and his wife does some really cool trebles.
She does the treble. That's Chelsea. Yeah, Chelsea made that. And you can't even possibly see the detail in this lure. But I worship it every night.
Yeah.
So yeah, just watch some YouTube videos, and there's so many great guys out there. I belong to a little bait. It's secret, so I can't tell you too much about it. But a little bait making society, as you will. And there's so much talent out there. It's such a very artistic hobby to get into. You can literally do whatever you want.
Yeah, and so last year when we were both stuck at home, our jobs had us staying at home, and so when we decided together that we were going to spend part of our tax return on getting some bait stuff, and we ended up sticking about $1,700 into the plastic stuff. Yeah. And so we got some molds and we got the injectors and stuff. And if I were going to say, if you weren't planning on making it a major hobby, you just want to try it out, like you're saying, look on Facebook, and there's a couple of groups like Soft Plastic Bait Molds for sale. There's another Bait Molds and Jig Molds for sale group. Those groups, those guys, like it's like the adult bait making version of Pokemon cards on there.
It really is.
We're like, you and I and Emily, and we're all on there trading and selling bait molds back and forth.
It's another whole family. It's right. Literally another whole family.
And so you can get some stuff pretty cheap there. You won't save a whole lot of money, but you'll save a few bucks. And maybe you'll find somebody going, hey, somebody new to bait making that wants to try this grub mold. I got it from a rummage sale and I don't like it.
Yep.
So just keep your eye on those groups, because that's a really cool thing. And don't be afraid to just, try a little bit.
I've got some molds that I'm going to sell. Literally, oh my God, last night, Epic is killing me. They're either going to get me divorced or bankrupt or both. And they just came out with, the standard 2-inch, crappie jig, stinger tail crappie jig. They literally just came out with it yesterday. And, of course, I ordered it instantly. And then I have one from another manufacturer that I'll probably be selling. And not that there's anything wrong with it. It's a perfect, you know what I mean? But I've got most of my stuff from Epic, so I'll just keep it that way, I'll give somebody a good deal on that other mold. And then I got the other one coming. But I got to do one quick thing, because Dale Wyman says, who's the coolest person from North Carolina Mike has ever fished with? That would be him. That's my buddy Dale, and he just moved from Massachusetts down to North Carolina. I got to give him a shout out. He is as sick into crappie fishing as I am, if not more. And we were just a great team. We only got to fish together a couple of times. I'm very, very sad about that. But I am trying to buy a new boat, and it happens to be about 3 hours from him. So hopefully I'm going to be going down and seeing him here shortly.
That's cool. How has that process been? Are boats still all sold out and everything, or you can get a little bit of looking?
Yeah, it's very tough. So I've been working in marinas since I was 17 years old. For the last 12 years, I've been working in a hospital system, and I dispatch air medical helicopters, public safety. We're essentially like a 911 center for the hospital system, right? And it's a large hospital system, so we're very busy. But I still work part-time at a marina on Candlewood Lake, and the boat sales have been skyrocketing since COVID. However, the supply is very, very low. Mm-hmm. So my boss said that he's seen it the best it's ever been in 45 years of being in business, but he used to be able to order 50 boats, and now they're like, you can have 15.
Oh.
Yeah. And I'm running into the same thing trying to buy a boat, because I'm actively looking, and I found this boat in North Carolina, and they have one of them, and I want it bad, but again, he's like, you either buy it now or it's gone. You know, there's going to be nothing in the spring. So I'd have to keep searching. So, yeah, if you're looking to buy a boat right now, you need to do it right now.
Yeah. Well, and if you buy that one and you don't like it, then you find a different one you like better, then you could just sell the first one because the market's hot.
Well, exactly. And I mean, that is the good point to all this. You can sell it I could sell it tomorrow, you know, it'd be done.
Corey said that you should make a boat, and with a workshop like you got, I bet that's possible.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mika, yes, I see that.
So then how has your ice season been going?
I mean, it's actually been pretty good. We haven't had ice very long. But like I said, the highlight was the tournament up in Vermont. The partner that I usually fish with, he wasn't able to fish for some personal reasons. So I fished with the guy, my friend Tyler, that I fish with out in the open water. The problem with Tyler is he always kicks my butt. You know, it seems like everybody I take fishing with me does better than me, and that's just not right. And, you know, they're in the back of the boat, and it's like, why are they kicking my ass here? This is just not right. So he was the obvious choice to, you know, for a fill-in partner, and we did good. The ironic thing is he was using all my baits, and I wasn't. and he pretty much carried me. So, you know, but whatever. We still cashed a check, and that was really cool. And my friend Ron was there. He's making a lot of comments. I like to see that. Ron Wagner from Pennsylvania. He's a very good friend of mine. He's one of the ones that I usually like to follow. I'm pretty much in his shadow, you know, wherever he goes. And he, you know, we just have a really good time. It's such a good tournament series. It really is. We literally could have qualified for the big tournament out there, the NFI, whatever the hell it is there. But you had to spend like an extra $50 to enter, and we couldn't commit to making the trip out there. So, but we qualified. We just didn't spend the money. So, by doing that, we gave somebody else a good chance to go. You know, so I'm cool with that. That's all good. But we definitely want to get out there. I want to get out there and do some fishing and stuff for sure.
And then earlier in the comments, there were some questions about your thoughts on the green light. So I know not everywhere are people able to use it. So Minnesota, it is not legal. We're in Wisconsin and we can. Over there on the East Coast, are you guys able to use things like the green light?
Funny you should ask that, because I was actually anticipating that question. I do own one. I've never used it. I have a friend of mine that gave it to me. I've never used it. However, a lot of the people in the tournaments do use them. So in the, you know, the first hour of the tournament, we usually start out, you know, like about an hour or so before it gets light out, right? So when you get out there, all of a sudden you just start seeing green lights, you know, popping up underneath people's shacks, the hydroglow, right?
Yeah.
And they're a sponsor for our tournament series, for the Champlain Valley Hardwater Tournament Series. They're one of the sponsors. So there's usually a bunch of them on the table, for, you know, as a giveaway. And yeah, I haven't figured that whole thing out yet. I don't do any night fishing. I was literally going to, when we're done tonight, load my truck and try and get out tomorrow night after work, because there's a really good spot about 10 minutes from where I work. But we got this big storm coming in, and I don't know. I guess
John,
I may or may not go.
Answer your phone because your boss is calling and a bunch of laugh faces. John, we've got him here for like 15 more minutes, so hang tight.
Holy shit, he is on. I just saw that. Dude, answer your phone. It's your boss. John, go away.
Yeah, so we actually have a hydroglow too. We had the chance to meet the owner at the Wisconsin Fishing Expo 2 years ago, something like that. And yeah, we got one, and it is very subjective to the body of water that you're fishing. And I think location on the lake has a lot to do with it too. You can't just like throw it in the water and expect things to happen.
No, I think you have to be somewhere where there's actually a chance, right?
Yep.
You can't just like drop it in and expect to catch fish. You got to be in the right setting, weed beds or brush piles, whatever the case may be. Because what the light does, right, is it attracts like the zooplankton and stuff like that, which attracts the minnows, attracts the big fish, I just haven't physically gotten into it myself. I really want to. I think it's really cool. But it is very popular in like Vermont, New Hampshire area. Yes, absolutely.
Huh.
Yeah, very cool. It's not super popular here, but we are allowed to do it. And we've done it a few times and with off and on luck. But like I said, I think that a watercolor we found is one of the biggest factors because, we have a place called the Chippewa Flowage here. And half of that flowage is dark brown water and the other half is crystal clear. And in the dark brown side, we're lucky to get a light ball that's like this big off the light.
Yeah, right.
And then the crystal clear side, it's a really big light ball.
So that's a great point. Yeah, that's a great point. We run into the same thing. I have bodies of water here that it's crystal clear. And like I said, I said in the beginning, I grew up on the St. Lawrence River. And when I was a kid, the visibility was 4 to 6 feet. And then zebra mussels showed up. And by the time I left, the visibility was like 40 feet.
Yeah.
So it's a completely different way of fishing in that situation. It's insanely different.
Yeah.
Well, and I think also when you have a light as bright as the hydro glow can get, the other interesting thing about that, it's the tendency to like, put the light down the hole, it's a pretty big light, but then people want to fish right on top of that light, thinking that more light is better. But in that occasion, what you're actually looking for is kind of that perimeter around the edge of the light.
Yeah, just like you'd fish a weed edge or a soft bottom versus hard bottom edge, it's an edge. Right. Yeah. So where the light starts to fade out, that's an edge. That's structure. And that's where I'd be. I'll set the thing outside my shack and, set the shack up on the edge. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So as we are kind of moving on here, what do you have coming up for the rest of the ice season?
My weekends are at least one of the days on the weekends is generally for like that care program that I talked about. Pretty much every weekend we have an on the ice class. So a lot of the classes, of course, because of COVID, were done via Zoom, right? So they would do like a 2-hour Zoom class, and then we set up the different on the ice outside, part of it in different parts of the state. So no matter where you took the Zoom class, you can go to one of the ice classes, that's closest to you. So we set them up all over the state. Next weekend, next Saturday, the 5th is the big event, the winter, ice festival type thing. That's a pretty big event. And then every weekend, literally, I've got, at least one of those days, to do that. And then, tournaments, if I'm not doing the care program, I'm working on, and even when I'm doing the care program, like the other day, I put a bunch of crappies in a couple of my tournaments. I'm not going to lie. I was like, everybody stay away from me for a few minutes. I'm catching fish. Right. So, it's a cool chance to check out different bodies of water and just show the kids and the families, how to ice fish. And again, they do it all summer long. So we do open water stuff. I just don't participate in a lot of those. They have plenty of people that want to help open water when it's 70, 80 degrees out. They don't have a whole lot of people that want to do it when it's 20, 30, like 20 degrees, 10 degrees, 5 degrees, whatever. And that's just where I'm comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's for sure. So if there are people at home that want to continue, following in your bait making and your programs that you're running and all of those different things, it seems like a lot of people here might follow you already, but for those that don't, can you tell us how they can do that?
So crappyhijinks.com. I have a website. It's not super updated. I'm not going to lie. I really have a lot of work I want to do to that website. I just haven't had time. I've been buying a ton of molds. I have like 26 different ice fishing modes alone that I have to get on there. And I sort of want to change my format a little bit. I want to work more into like doing kits and stuff for people, because that's just, they get a better deal and it's easier on me. And I think it's just better for everybody type thing. So that's one of the things I will give away out of the giveaways. I'm going to give a random kit of some of the better baits that I like and the colors that I like. I'm on Instagram, Crappie Hijinks, same with Facebook. So you can check me out at, all those places.
That's awesome. Cool. And, the cool thing about this show is that we are here live right now, but people can always join in again, a little bit later. So remind us again what the contest is.
Just throw some comments in. So if you've made it this far in this video after watching it, just make sure that you've commented, just because Mike's being gracious enough to do some giveaways, and you want to show us what you got for him, Mike?
So I guess my sponsors are probably upset, but Clam Outdoors is obviously one of my big sponsors. Anybody that knows me knows that. Vexlar, clearly, and Cold Snap Outdoors are my three main sponsors. And I have two kits here, the Cold Snap, the reel wraps. All right, that's how I attach all of my fishing reels to my rods. And, you can see there, the different reel wraps and stuff like that. I'll also give a shout out to Cold Snap. This is one of their newer, you're not going to see that, but this is the Red Line Series rods. This is one of my favorite rods lately. I've been using this. I don't know if you can see that, but this thing is just awesome. That bend actually really keeps those fish hooked. No matter what they do, they can just do whatever they want to try and get away, and it's not happening. They're mine. I use a lot of clam tackle, a lot of clam rods. Very, very. They have so many different awesome rods. Vexlar, of course. There's just the best electronics going. And I hate to say that about the best of anything, but I really do enjoy the Vexlar electronics. Yeah.
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 That's what I use too.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So for the people at home, definitely go and, give you a follow, because that's going to be a whole bunch of fun too.
Yeah.
I think my boss should give me a raise since he's commenting so much. So I'll talk to him in private. John R. Spencer. Yep.
Yeah, I want a raise too. Oh my gosh. But thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Yeah.
Oh man, I totally appreciate it. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, you guys have an open invite up to Connecticut. Anybody that wants to come up this way, absolutely. I will take you out. I don't care. I just like getting people on fish. And that's just what I do. I fish. That's what I live and breathe.
Scott, the free stuff.
Scott is not getting any free stuff. He is banned from the contest.
He's banned. Well, you heard it here, Scott. You're banned from the contest. All right.
Oh my gosh. But, with that, to everybody at home, thank you guys for being here as well, because that is really half the fun is, hearing your questions and your comments and all the different things along the way.
Yeah.
So, thank you guys for being here as well. And with that, I guess we will see each of you on next week's edition of The Night Bite.
Night, everybody.